Connor, first off, congratulations. I mean, this is it's a big deal, especially when you look at the names of the people that have won this award before you. And there's a long list of goalies that are in this list. But just for what this award simplify or exemplifies, what does that mean to you to have your name in that group now?
Yeah, it's a cool award to be a part of, and having your name on any NHL award is a huge honor. So here, give respect to the other two guys that were nominated with Freddie and Oliver and Calgary, and I mean, just like I said, to have your name on any NHL award is a huge honor, and I don't think there's any words you need to put after that.
Yeah, and it's cool because this award it talks about you exemplify the qualities and perseverance, but as you're going through the other part of that and you're struggling with that and you've got to be thinking about trying to just hold on to your career at that point. What do you think this award, what kind of a message does this award send to other people that are struggling and maybe are afraid to reach out for help?
Yeah, you don't do these things to win awards or to have the recognition. You're at the time I was just trying to put my life back together. You know, I don't think I'd played an NHL game even when I went into the program. So that was a distant thought and a long ways in the future. And I was just trying to get my life back on track. And I think now if people read this or watch this or however they may do it and they decide maybe it's time for them to get some help, I think that's all you can do in this. And what I went through wasn't special. I have OCD, I have a little depression, and I think a lot of people in life go through that. And there's going to be a time when you don't want to get out of bed or things scare you that shouldn't. And I think those are the times when people need help. And I think people should be willing to get help and to ask for help and to have that open door or know that someone's always going to answer the phone is just a huge step.
Yeah, it seems like I've read the story and I followed you quite a bit, and you talk about how fast that you went in and said, "Hey, I need help," and it's like an hour later you're on a plane in the NHL NHLPA Employee Assistance Program, basically. One, I just want to talk about how awesome is that to know? Did you know that you had that resource available, and how would that help another business? Like, what would you tell another employer who maybe have an employee that's struggling? Can you touch on those a little bit?
Yeah, I didn't know the program existed. The program isn't available for players in the American Hockey League. I'd never played an NHL game, and I was on a taxi squad at the time. That's the only reason I got access to it. I didn't know it existed. I'm sure you read the story. I wanted to walk away from hockey, and they said, "Let's get your mind right before we do that." So that's how it happened. I think it was about 10 in the morning. I was on a flight from Dallas to Los Angeles at noon. So it all happened fast, and um, as for any employer, I think, like I said before, people are going to go through this. There's going to be days when aren't good, and I think the world has taken a big step in understanding. But I mean, if you break an arm and want a day off work, I don't think anybody's going to question it. So if you need a day to get your mental health right, I think it should be right up along there with it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think the message you're sending now to employers and to youth, I mean, it just really humanizes what athletes go through. A lot of people say, well, they're a professional athlete, they can do whatever. But you look at the list of goalies that have won this award too, that have had other things. I mean, you Carey Price, Leonard, Craig Anderson, Dubnik. I mean, the list goes on. There's a lot of goalies that have won this. Do you think there's something extra stressful about being a goaltender in the National Hockey League that maybe pushes players into situations where they end up becoming this example of perseverance?
Yeah, I think for sure. I don't know, it's a big thing to say. I was gonna say maybe in all of sports, goaltending might be the most stressful position, but we don't have that ability to make a mistake. There's no mistakes in goaltending, and that's a hard line to draw for 2.5 hours, 82 times a year, is to be that razor sharp. And I think that it is hard and it's taxing on people, and it causes a lot of problems that a lot of other people don't recognize or see. And um, I, I don't think there's any true connection between goaltending and this, but for some reason, it seems to be us that find ourselves in this position.
Yeah, and I don't want to harp on this, man. I just think this is an amazing thing, and I don't want to make you relive all this. But the one more thing I wanted to talk to you about was the NHL tweet that day. Like you're going through stuff, and the NHL says, "Yeah, Connor Ingram's going through this stuff right now, and we're going to tweet to the world about it." One, is that okay? Does that give you a little bit of accountability, or is that just extra pressure?
So I think the true NHL rule is if you miss time, the NHL has to put it out as an injury or anything like that gets normally reported. So there's a lot of the program that goes on not during NHL time where you can go discreetly, and that's what the program was for, was to get help discreetly. And I think it's just a league rule. I don't know if it's to do with gambling or fantasy or anything like that. It's if you're gonna miss time, they have to say why. And for me, that's what happened, and you don't get a choice. So you better figure it out. And I figured if mine was gonna be out there and people will come up with their own stories and of what was going on and all that. So I thought, why not have your own narrative and make it a good thing? So like you said, I didn't really have a choice, but it is what it is. And um, honestly, without it, I don't think I would have become a voice, and I would have hid from it for sure. So maybe it was a good thing for me.
Okay, so maybe it does have a little accountability. Personally, I was a little angered by it, just as somebody that has to help other people go through an EAP system in my other world.
Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely some picking and choosing that goes on about it too, for sure.
yeah. And I don't want to get into that. But then you get through this, and the program helps. And I had the privilege of playing for Clint Malarchuk, who went through a similar thing with OCD, and I also have a daughter who has OCD, diagnosed OCD, the one we all talk about, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then to see you come out the other end and have what last season was, you played more games than you've ever played before. You have this outstanding, 6 shutouts. Um, did you look back and say, like, all this helped me have my best season yet, and this is just the start of what is going to happen with me?
Yeah, I think so. I think for the first time in my life, I have a clear head, and um, goalies are late developers, and I think I got my first shot at 24, 25, which looking back at it was probably pretty early for a goalie. And luckily for me, I got two more years left with Utah for sure, and then hopefully we can tack a couple more on there. So I think we're just getting started.
Want to give a special thanks to Chipman Roofing. These are hockey people supporting the hockey community. It's Chipman Roofing. For all your roofing needs, just check out chipmanroofing.com. And if you like what you hear on the podcast, please leave a review, leave a rating. Wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you give us a rating. Like to check out kslsports.com as well. There's going to be more hockey on there. As more hockey comes up, it's going to be always right there, kslsports.com. Big thanks to Madison Miller for putting up with us and making this thing work.